Hi, welcome back to EDH on a Budget. I'm your host, Iceman, and today we're going to be going over part one of Avatar cards that you missed. A lot of cards in a second, a lot of hype, but these are ones that are definitely going to be have huge impacts when you play them, and just overall improve your decks significantly. First up, we have Fire Nation Salvagers, which is 19 cents. This creature costs 3 mana and black, so a total of 5 mana. It's a human soldier with power and toughness 3/3. It has menace. When this creature enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. Whenever one or more creatures you control with counters on them deal combat damage to a player, put target creature or vehicle card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So some people might look at this and be like, "Oh, 5 mana for a reanimation only from that player's graveyard? That's so subpar." But the thing is, this isn't just 5 mana and you get one thing back. This is 5 mana, get as many of their creatures or vehicles out of the graveyard and onto your battlefield as creatures with +1/+1 counters that deal combat damage. So things to keep in mind are this does give a creature that you control or vehicle a +1/+1 counter. So automatically you got one. This creature has menace, so if you're playing a +1/+1 counter deck, he's a pretty good target for your next turn to give a counter to, since he'll be harder to block. And if you have, the more creatures you have with any counters on them, this isn't just +1/+1 counters, but if they have any counters at all, first strike counter, flying counter, hexproof, it doesn't matter. It's going to get stuff back. You just have to deal combat damage with them. So the upside is really big, and the downside is you're probably only going to get one per turn in a generic deck. That being said, they do have to have a creature in the graveyard or a vehicle in the graveyard to get the value, which doesn't seem to be too hard. Like, I don't think you need to put this in a very strong mill deck. You certainly would have better options if this were in a mill deck, but it definitely does not have to be. Next up, we have Match the Odds. This is a sorcery, which is a lesson. This lesson, it costs 2 and a green, and it costs 27 cents on TCG Player's market price. It says create a 1/1 white ally creature token. Put a +1/+1 counter on it for each creature your opponents control. So this is all the opponents. So it is a vanilla, no keywords creature, but this is going to be a big creature. Almost always. With the exception being right after a board wipe, which is the downside. But the upside is green has many ways to give trample, and there are many commanders that like to populate and create tokens, copies of tokens, and the +1 is just going to be huge. It's going to be a huge white ally, and you got to close out games somehow, and you can easily get something that's a huge 10/10 or 12/12 or 15/15, which is pretty scary considering how easy green can give stuff trample. You don't even have to try very hard, to be honest. It's just naturally stapled onto other cards. Your overruns that win the game, they give trample. Your Garrick's Uprising that draw cards for creatures entering with a certain power toughness gives trample. So, just so easy to give trample to stuff. Obviously, +1/+1 counter decks have special synergy with this, but I think this can be played even outside those decks. Next up, we have a favorite of mine, Reckless Blaze. This is another sorcery that's also a lesson. It costs about 29 cents on TCG Player. This costs 3 red. Reckless Blaze deals 5 damage to each creature. That, first off, that's not a bad board wipe. That's going to cover the vast majority of the board and the vast majority of the tokens that are created. Whenever a creature you control dealt damage this way dies, add red mana. So there's so many nice things with this. Most board wipes, you just don't, it hurts when you lose your own creatures, and this just makes it even better. If you lose 5 creatures, then this is basically a 0 mana board wipe. Deal 5 damage to each creature. That's not bad. It's going to let you rebuild faster than everybody else. This is a board wipe that even if you're running a token deck, you still very well might want this, because you can turn those tokens into more tokens and into big X spells. Definitely changes the game a little bit, where you're like, okay, I'm going to attack with everything, and oftentimes players won't block just because they don't want to lose their creature. And if they do block with something big, then there's a chance that that big creature might be low enough where 5 damage could kill it. Next up, we have possibly one of the best 2 mana dorks in my opinion. Great Divide Guide. This creature is 1 and a green. It costs about 86 cents on TCG Player. It's a human scout ally with 2 power and 3 toughness. Each land and ally you control has tap at 1 mana of any color. So instantly fixes your mana. No problems with what color is what. This is 2/3 stats on a 2 mana dork. That's not bad stats. But the more important thing is it gives each of your allies the ability to tap for mana. There is so many cards that are also allies, like they just tagged it on there, and you're like, I'm not even playing an ally deck, but this deck has 5 allies or 10 allies. And making those creatures mana dorks as well just turns this into a card that taps for so much mana, because they tap for mana, and it fixing your lands is also pretty nice. If you are running any of those lands that do not tap for mana, why would you play a land that doesn't tap for mana? Because some of them have very good static abilities. Then this is going to be extra good, because then those lands do tap for mana, so you're not losing any tempo by playing said lands. Next up, we have Crystalline Armor for 3 and a green. This enchantment is an aura, and it costs about 37 cents. It says enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control and has trample. That is a huge amount. It's in green, which ramps with lands, so not only are you going to have big power and toughness added to your creature as soon as you play this, but if you play it late game, it's going to be huge. Alright, mid game you're easily getting +6/+6 to a creature with and trample, but late game, play this on your commander, and you're probably going to commander damage somebody out, you with your 10 or 12 lands. Now, that being said, this is an enchantment, so enchantments you typically enchant other people's stuff too. So if you really wanted to, you could put this on an opponent's creature and make a political deal. Hey, I can help you kill that player over there. Just don't swing at me for 2 turns. Or something like that, because, sometimes there's a threat at the table and you guys got to team up to work it out and get them out of there, but then you don't want this coming back at you, so maybe you just say, alright, this creature is permanently goated, or this creature permanently can't attack me, and, some people don't like making deals. It's kind of part of a 4-player game, and if you're playing with your pod of regulars, you know who you can trust and who you can't. The fact that this aura gives trample is just like, it gives you the power and the finisher all in one. I do wish that since it is crystalline armor, it would have been nice if it would have given like at least ward 1 or 2, but overall it's a pretty good enchantment, especially in enchantress decks. They often have troubles closing out the game because they just are like, I play an enchantment, draw a card, I get a life. I play an enchantment, draw a card, I get a life, I scry. And it's just like you're doing a lot of things, but you're not advancing the board. I mean, this crystalline armor can change a power with 2 power into a threat real quick. So I do think if you're an enchantress deck, you should heavily look at this card to try to close out games. Obviously, there's other cards like All That Glitters that also help with that, but that doesn't give trample. So this all being on one card is going to be very nice. It might almost feel too easy. All you need are lands and a creature. And I appreciate you watching. Please give a like, share, and subscribe to help the channel grow. We really appreciate it. Thanks. You rock.